Alrighty, hey gang, welcome back. So I'm just going to do a quick little discussion on the Cookstove internals. A lot of people asking lots of questions about this thing, and so I thought I'd just show you a little bit of what's inside, how it works, why you did whatever. So here we are, we're down in the shop. I haven't been down here at all since I did the work on this thing for the most part, so it's a terrible mess. So am I, so I'm not going to show you me. But I will show you my shop, and you can see all my parts and bits in the background there. That's great, huh? So here's where I built the thing. I built it one here first, and I ran my testing machine, and here's my core mock-up, and I did a bunch of versions and variations until I came across the one that went in the house. Now the one that's in the house is basically the same as this, with the exception of this one's actually nicer, this stove body, because it's on a slab that started level, and I was able to do some detail work that I wasn't able to do in the house because I was making up for a real messed up floor. Okay, so I'll try not to ramble too much, but here's the core and some of the parts you couldn't see in the built stove video. Now, the bricks I'm using are these insulated fire brick, and otherwise known as kiln brick. They should be incredibly light. I mean, this thing probably doesn't weigh a pound. So that is my first point. That is absolutely critical. If you don't use fully insulated, highly insulated material all the way through the flame path of the stove, meaning the whole lower portion, and I believe the upper portion as well, since that makes up part of the ceiling of the lower portion anyway, for sure, that has to be insulated. And not insulated from outside. It has to be made of insulated material. If you're not doing that, it won't work. You'll be disappointed. I'll tell you right now. It's a flaw in my design. If you can't handle insulated materials inside, then this isn't the stove for you. So don't try and work around that, unless you're going to be satisfied with terrible smoky burns and burning your hands when you put wood in the firebox. So the downside that people perceive is that this firebox is incredibly fragile, and my challenge to any of you who continually challenge me on that is that you know that because the last one you built like this didn't last. I didn't think so. You know that because that's what everyone's always done, and that's what you've been told. So I'm okay with that. Like, if that's the status quo and you accept it, fine. But I promise, it works awesome. It's not a downside. It doesn't wear out, not anytime soon. Hard bricks crack and all that. You replace them anyway. So there you go. You can tell that one kind of irritates me. It doesn't really irritate me. It's just that's a real old residual piece of our old wood burning paradigm. The firebox needs to be hard and high mass. It's wrong. I apologize. It won't work. Okay, so there's that part of it. So if you look on the links I provide in the last video, and I'll put them here too, you can go to a photo album. You can see this thing broken down layer by layer, so I don't think I need to go all the way into that. But let's talk about the mortar. These are just loose stacked. What I use to stick this together is Lincoln fire clay, to mason sand, some kind of sharp sand, at about 1 to 3. And then sometimes I'll throw some nice white sifted wood ash in there, just a little bit, to help it set up. So that's the core. You really need to screen any clay if you're using found clay, because any little pieces are going to obviously make a gap there. So this one was just kind of mocked together pretty quickly, so it isn't a great fit, but I guess I can show you. Another crucial piece of the puzzle is the shape here with the port in the center. That's thanks to Peter Vandenberg's lovely work on his Batchbox rocket stove. We know that we get a nice double opposing vortex in there. He refers to it as the ram's horn, and that is what it just does an excellent job of reintroducing any unmixed gases back into the super hot stream with an adequate amount of turbulence, and keeps them in the hot zone for more time. We got time and temperature and turbulence, and we get complete combustion in a horizontally laid over piece. Now, if you don't want the window on this back side, you can simply build the core closed like I did here. So these bricks come out and that leaves space for the window. So that's the core, insulated fire brick. Let's go to the body here. Now, it's really a very simple construction. It is simply this brick skin, single layer built around that core we just looked at. Okay, so here you can see the core. Now this was the first one I built. It doesn't have that centered channel that we just talked about. So part of my testing procedure. And then you can see you can choose any way you want to make this serpentine around in here. I chose it because where I wanted the firebox and the viewing window and my hot cooking plate here. That's my kitchen side over there. I chose to do it this way, but it could just as easily go over here and the oven over there or a bench over there. On and on and on. So when I said that the gases come up out of the firebox, around, so you get a really nice gradient of heat across the cooktop, and then we enter this down channel. And this is the bypass that I discussed, and then this is the up channel. Okay, so if there's a bypass here, that metal plate, it actually slides down out of the way on that rod and then up here. So when the gases come around here with this bypass in place, they are forced then to go down into the oven, which is just simply a big open brick area with that entrance from the down channel and then the entrance into the up channel there. With that bypass closed, things are forced into here. The gases will rise to the top until the coolest gases are forced down that way, and they'll find their way out via the chimney. Now this brick body I said was nicer because I was able to do this nice detail with these reveals. It looks really sweet on the outside. And it was just right for me to stub ends of bricks out from there, and I was able to pick up some oven racks. I had to cut them and re-weld them, but I made them fit, and it was a really sweet rig. But when I got to do it in the house, everything was all wonky. So I didn't get to do that. So let's see. There's the core. There's the body. There's the window on this one. Everything's for the most part the same as best I can recall. So when I built the stove inside, I used a large piece of steel angle here, a header, and carried this layer of bricks. I temporarily bricked up the closure until I, dried the whole stove out and got it solid, and then I was able to knock out those knockouts and mount that door using masonry hardware. The top, real easy. I just use glass stovetop from a stove like this. I'm getting ready to build another one, so I'm going to demolish that. And then it just literally sets right on top of this. You put down a nice skiff of really fine sifted mortar, and you can just set that glass right on there, and it should seal pretty well. Once that hardens and dries, you can lift that top off of there to service or change things in here. And then once you've done that, you can either continue with mortar, or you can get yourself just a little bit of fiberglass rope or any number of, it's not going to be super hot as long as you have a seal. When gases are trying to escape, it'll of course heat up and you'll damage a piece of fiberglass, but no big deal. Anyways, glass sits on top of here. Right here is where I have my chimney. I used the top of an old wood stove. I just cut it off with a grinder and set it there, and I mounted my bypass to that. And then all the rest, a piece of glass, another piece of glass. I used a little piece of metal right here just because it was just a little piece I need, a little module. And then for that frame, all I did is build a frame. I built it out of 1.25 inch, I think, angle. And it's literally just a one frame with a couple crossbars, and it doesn't fasten in any way. It just sets over. And I put a little, bar on it. You have to go look at the other video to see the detail, but there's a bar on it to hang hooks and pans, and the weight of the whole thing is enough to make it stable. Everything's stuck together just via the clay, and it works great. So let's see what else. Oh, the door in the air. So last but not least is the door settings, or the door in the air. You can see the core here, inside the brick body here, and in this case I did not make a mounting solution. So when you build the core, what you want to do to use my great friend Lasse's technique. One way to do it that I think is pretty savvy, is heavy duty, is to put some metal strapping running back along the body of the stove, and then wrap around and give yourself a little mounting plate of some sort in at least 4 corners. Maybe it's a full frame, maybe it's just some straps with some anchors, but some way to anchor a door back into the body of the stove, and then hopefully tie that into the skin as well when you're building the skin. That gives you just a lot of hold and ability to get a good tight seal, which I'm lacking. But if you do that, you'll have a nice place to mount your door. The bricks on the skin do make a nice reveal, so you have an inset door. Stove doesn't need much of a hearth. It would be good to have more than I do up in the house. But the air setting, this is my preferred material here. This is 1.25 inches, I think, by 2.25 inches. Square stock or whatever you want to call it. And what I like to do is take that 2-inch black pipe that makes up the vertical, and I'll just use a hole saw and oversize this so that the vertical can drop into it, and then you can just relieve a piece out here on the back side of that vertical to let the air in, and then cut your slot on the front side, and that way you can just replace this piece yearly, and it's a real easy job actually. If you just go buy yourself an 8-foot section of black pipe, cut it into 16 sections, do all the work at once, and just keep them in the closet, you'll be set for life. Maybe not life, but a while. Alrighty, so I think that's the gist of what I wanted to share with you guys. Let me know how else I can help, and I'd love to see if any of you get one of these done. Let me see how you're using it. Okay, thanks for watching. Have a great day. Stay warm.